Alright, so I was thinking about some current events today, and it got me thinking about like the origins of the Islamic extremism today. We see a lot, and the question I really wanted to answer was like, where did all of this come from? And it really all started in the Soviet-Afghan War, with the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan because they wanted to prop up their puppet state there. And as we all know, actually I don't think a whole lot of people actually know, but the Mujahideen, of course, was supported by a lot of Western countries, particularly the U.S., and also a lot of Islamic countries as well. They received a lot of funding from Saudi Arabia and others. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but originally Osama bin Laden fought against the Soviet Union during the Soviet-Afghan War. And in a way, he was, our ally to begin with, and while he was fighting the Soviets at least. And that's where Al-Qaeda got their start during the Soviet-Afghan War. And then after the Soviet-Afghan War, obviously, like in the 80s or 90s, not long after the end of the war, there was the Afghan Civil War. And then after the Afghan Civil War, or the first Afghan Civil War, there was obviously 9/11, and then there was the War on Terror in 2001, and then 2003, the Iraq War, and the war with Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later evolved into ISIS and whatnot. But the groundwork for jihad seems to be in a movement within Sunni Islam called Salafism, which essentially advocates for Islamic fundamentalism and the diversion back to, or advocates for Muslims to divert back to a lot of the, traditional Muslim practices. And I don't really know a whole lot about it other than that it's essentially a fundamentalist movement within Sunni Islam, and that it did influence Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, and you could argue to a degree ISIS, maybe the Taliban, Hamas, and other groups like Al-Shabaab, maybe. So those are a lot of well-known extremist organizations. And, it's fair to assume that maybe they were influenced by Salafism to a degree. But from what I understand, I could be wrong here, but I've looked into this before, and it seems like Salafism actually has its roots in another movement. So that actually kind of pushes the origins for jihad back even further. But yeah, look into it. It's important to understand if you want to understand the origins and the groundwork under which a lot of these terrorists operate under. I don't really have anything else to talk about, at this point. This video needs to be 5 minutes long, because I'm doing this for school, and I've touched on everything I want to talk about so far, and we're just kind of sitting here now. I'm just going on and on, but I don't really know what to talk about. And so it's just kind of, it's boring. But yeah, recap just the Soviet-Afghan War, or Salafism, Soviet-Afghan War, Osama bin Laden, and then Al-Qaeda got their start in Afghanistan, and somehow it spread to Iraq. Al-Qaeda did, and then Al-Qaeda in Iraq turned to ISIS. And yeah, that's really just my interpretation of like the origins of all of this, or my understanding. I mean, you can't really interpret history. There's no way to really do that. So like, it's objective. Like there's no changing it. You can't interpret it in any way because the facts are facts. So that's the history. That's my understanding of it. Up to this point. But I do want to try and figure out Solomon a little bit, just because I don't know. So.